Hi there, I'm Emma Lanners, OER and Graduate Support Librarian at Utah Tech University.
And I'm Kelly Peterson-Fairchild, Dean of the Library and Open Learning Services.
We are going to be discussing the process we went through to ultimately pass an OER addendum to our faculty tenure policy to help with the sustainability of our program. We hope you learn from us today. Open educational resources has seen a lot of growth over the past 20 years with the creation of various support programs and incentive programs at many colleges and universities across the nation and even globe. Many seem to support the adoption, adaptation, and creation of OER with staff support and/or monetary initiatives. However, it's been noted that one area might be needed to strengthen the appeal of OER and support its longevity in the higher education field. This missing piece is the connection of OER and the rank, tenure, and promotion process. Many have indicated that this is an issue that needs to be addressed. In a 2020 article that surveys the effectiveness of Rutgers University's OER incentive program, it was noted that, quote, for many tenure track faculty in particular, small monetary awards may not be as motivating as tenure and promotion guidelines that explicitly award the creation of OER and participation in textbook affordability initiatives. Additionally, the authors stated, quote, tapping into the tenure and promotion process may indeed be an important way to influence faculty behavior. To add to that, in 2019, the University of Texas system convened an Affordable Learning Accelerator Task Force that identified 10 recommendations to help build capacity and momentum around no and low-cost materials with an OER focus. One of those recommendations was how OER related to the promotion and tenure process. And in 2017, a survey by the Ontario Council of University Libraries found that a main deterrent for faculty is the lack of recognition in the tenure and promotion processes. Lastly, in an article published in The Conversation, author James M. Skidmore pointed out that, quote, faculty members won't engage with creating open resources because colleges and universities, by and large, don't take this part of the criteria on which they judge performance, promotion, and tenure. There have been a few examples of institutions embarking on the journey or have added verbiage to include OER in their tenure policies, such as the University of British Columbia. This was a problem that we wanted to address at Utah Tech University, but this was the average experience of one of our faculty members. Dr. Jackson is an assistant professor of biology and is a few years away from tenure. Like many others, Dr. Jackson was overwhelmed with all of her duties, including a large teaching load, committee service, and a need to beef up her scholarly and creative activity before her tenure review. Since this is her first actual faculty position out of grad school, she has been torn on what to focus on for her scholarly endeavors. Travel, conference presentations, peer review requirements, articles. What should she focus on? These are all questions she has, but with only the equivalent of 3 credits of time to work on scholarly activities, she wants to make sure she's using her time wisely with her 4-class teaching load. Additionally, she's been hearing about the new mission and focus of the university, and she knows she's going to be asked to do something with OER, whatever that might be.
Utah Tech University is an open, inclusive, comprehensive polytechnic university in Southwest Utah. It's an open access institution with a comprehensive offering of degree programs with a focus on STEM and engaging students in active and applied learning. UT has a large percentage of minority students, first generation, and Pell Grant recipients. In 2020, the university adopted a new strategic plan and mission, and in 2022, a new name. In October 2020, the library was officially given leadership of the open education elements within the university's strategic plan. Part of this included building a program, incentive structure, and support for faculty to adopt, adapt, and create OER. The first thing we started with was gathering faculty representatives in a strategic plan working group. Faculty was who we were building this program for, so it was important to involve them from the start.
We identified key faculty members who we knew were innovative teachers, who were leaders or had influence in their department, or who had not had the opportunity to be a part of a highly visible and impactful committee in the past. We utilized participation data from our Center for Teaching and Learning, other important committee lists, and referrals from faculty connections to identify these faculty members. We made sure to have a faculty representative from each of our university's colleges, along with instructional designers from Utah Tech Online and the Center for Teaching and Learning. We wanted to make sure that we had a variety of disciplines represented to get the most valuable feedback on our program.
Dr. Jackson was asked to serve on a strategic plan working group for OER. One of the first things asked was what would make doing an OER project worthwhile? And how would this relate to tenure? Dr. Jackson was shocked that the committee was willing to tackle this rather than just asking faculty to do more and more. They even invited the current Faculty Senate president to one of the meetings to discuss options. Again, we listened to faculty and took this matter seriously. During the year we were working on this, the DOORS 3, or Driving OER Sustainability for Student Success Group, was working on a matrix for linking OER and the tenure and promotion process. It was finally completed and released. We utilized this matrix in an addendum to the faculty's rank, tenure, and promotion policy at Utah Tech. We specifically used the language, guidelines, and chose to add it as an addendum rather than a policy for a few reasons. First, the use of guidelines was purposeful in that we wanted to make sure OER projects were voluntary and not a requirement, as we knew that wouldn't be supported in this early in OER adoption on our campus. Second, since our program was so new, we wanted to add an addendum so changes could be made more quickly to the document after it was approved.
Using that rubric as our starting point, we added information at the beginning of this addendum to provide a general definition of OER, along with a justification of why this addendum was important. We explained that adoption, adaptation, and creation of OER takes tremendous effort, and it was important that our faculty have a way to utilize their OER projects in their portfolios towards tenure and promotion. We added specific language and guidance to faculty members for our campus's specific tenure process and policy, which includes making sure their department chair approves of the inclusion of their OER project in their annual faculty activity plan, which is a required document for all our faculty members to complete each year. The rest of the addendum includes the matrix. We had a Faculty Senate representative on our committee that took that finalized addendum and presented it to the Senate where it got approved. This approach was beneficial in that it was faculty to faculty discussion and advocacy. Transparency was also important to us, so the addendum went through the full policy process where it was scrutinized in various university committees, went through a public comment period, and was ultimately passed by our Board of Trustees, even though at times addendums don't have to go through the full process. We already have a few examples of different faculty members creating open textbooks that are peer-reviewed and even planning on publishing the results of their course conversions in scholarly journals.
In our discussions with departments, it has been critical in indicating the sustainability of the OER program, especially since it is an aspect of our open mission as an institution. To show this program has support beyond the few faculty who are eager early adopters. Initiative fatigue is a very real phenomenon, especially in relation to student success. An EDUCAUSE 2018 column identified an all too common scenario where a new initiative starts, a project and a team are built around it, the latest technology is deployed to help support it, Then a few months later, another project begins. Yet another tool is identified, and people, often the same from the last initiative, are called in to participate. Some suggestions they give in this column for combating initiative and fatigue include setting the path, setting goals and measures, and communicating and celebrating. We were fortunate to have OER prominently featured in our university mission and strategic plan. However, we definitely needed to develop appropriate policies and structures to articulate a path forward for faculty. Clear expectations, goals, and solid project management helped prioritize OER within many other competing demands on faculty time. Lastly, the recognition inherent within the RTP process kept faculty motivated, but we also included faculty highlights and spotlight activities in other numerous ways with workshops, our website, meetings, and etc. to maintain our momentum.
This addendum was passed in spring 2022, and it has been extremely helpful in answering concerns from faculty members about the institutional dedication to OER over the long term. Additionally, our program also has a stipend available for faculty members, encouraging them to adopt or create OER. But being able to refer back to this addendum just continues to reinforce that our institution and leadership are dedicated to this program and having it as part of our mission and culture for the long haul. A few takeaways that might be helpful for you, even if you don't have a clear connection between OER and your institution's mission and strategic plan, like at Utah Tech University, but make sure that you try to have faculty senate representation on any OER advisory committee you may set up. Also make sure that that advisory committee is made up of primarily faculty members from a variety of disciplines and even colleges, and engage the faculty early in the conversation and process of you creating such an addendum. Make sure they have a voice in crafting any document. Make sure that the language you might be using, and be careful about it. For us, we needed to stay away from required and using softer, more broad language such as guidelines. Also, having a separate document to point to will be very helpful to call out specifically OER rather than it being wrapped up in a large 10-page document. Thank you, and feel free to contact us with any questions.